Good afternoon, councillors, staff, members of the public. Welcome along to this hearings committee of the Community Wellbeing Committee to hear about the reclassification of Queen's Park. I have apologies from councillors Soper and Stewart. Simply like to move that they are accepted. Evelyn and Rhea, thank you. Put that all in favour.
Aye.
Against, carried. Councillors and Bob, you're all aware of the submissions process. Just as a method of comfort, the full committee meeting that follows this, which is when decisions are likely to be made, will be in public, and despite the fact there are recommendations that sit in there that have come from staff, they're a placeholder. Okay, so you will absolutely determine on each of the matters yourselves, which isn't necessarily based on what the staff's in there. So please bear that in mind, and Bob, I hope you take some comfort in that. Bob, welcome along. You're speaking on behalf of two submitters, yourself and also Chris Henderson, and you're speaking to Chris's submission first?
Correct.
Bob, the time is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. All Councillor Darren, no Nobby, Councillor, staff, media representatives from the public, thank you for the opportunity. So I'm Bob Simpson, and Chris Henderson has asked me to apologise for her not being here and asked me to speak on her submission opposed to the project 1225 Queen's Park reclassification, and asks the council not to demolish the pyramid. So you've got 3 pages, so I'll speak to Chris's first, then I'll speak to mine, then I've got some guidelines, and I think you've got those 3 sheets. So Chris is the chair of the Friends of the Southland Museum and Art Gallery. Now the Invercargill City Council has decided to separate the museum and art gallery functions. Chris and I think this is a mistake. We believe the museum and art gallery should remain together, and they should be in the inner city. Over the years, our community has invested in the inner city, and the museum and art gallery will enhance the centre because it is an attraction for both local people and for visitors. Chris would like to see existing inner city buildings used for the museum and art gallery. Chris and I suggest the pyramid could be upgraded, altered and extended to accommodate many activities and a planetarium. It could include a cafe on the north of the building, opening onto an outdoor seating area and onto Queen's Park. It could include changing rooms, lockers and showers for locals and visitors so they can enjoy outdoor recreation. It could include display areas and workplaces for artists and craftspeople. Some areas could become a community and education hub, and some could be used for storage. Could include on the first floor spaces with dormer windows and balconies to open the building up to the views and to provide social spaces and meeting rooms. Our proposal to retain the pyramid would save on demolition costs and reduce the volume of materials going to landfill. We understand the argument it is too late to pause project 1225. The ICC have not sorted the Queen's Park site out, which is why we're here, and we believe the museum and art gallery should be in the inner city. In our opinion, a modified pyramid building could again become a much loved community asset. The research which has been done for the project 1225 and the lessons which have been learned can be used in the design of an inner city museum and art gallery. Chris and I think that Invercargill City Council will get credit for having the courage to pause and have a cup of tea and consider the bigger picture. This big picture includes the reuse of the pyramid in Queen's Park and improving the inner city by having the museum and art gallery where more people can enjoy it. That's my first bit under Chris's section. Do you have any questions?
Councillors, questions, and they must be questions. Evelyn.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to Bob. I appreciate the sentiments that are in there, but where in...
You appreciate that?
I appreciate the sentiments that are
Yes.
expressed,
Yeah.
but where in there is the addressing of the issue of the reclassification of the land?
Well, we're opposed
Which
to
is
that.
why
We're opposed to that because we think it should remain for recreational use. And so that's actually in the submission that you've got in front, that is in the papers.
So if I can proceed, that the position is that the reclassification is not needed because you believe it should be relocated. The project could be relocated to a CBD location.
Sorry, say it again.
So if I were to proceed, Bob, your position or the position of Chris and the Friends is that...
Oh, no, sorry. This isn't the Friends. Chris is the chair of the Friends.
Right, my apologies. Thanks for the correction. Then Chris's position is that the reclassification is not needed because the project should take place within the CBD.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Is that the
Well,
position?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of other information that you presented around it, but I'm just trying to get to the crux of it.
yes, it's not really clear to me anyway that you're principally opposed to the reclassification on the basis that it should be used for recreation. Everything that has been discussed has been
So
about...
this isn't heading
yeah,
in the direction of a question, is it?
no,
You're just
perhaps not.
clarifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, Bob, if you want to move on to your submission, please.
Right. So I'm starting mine with the question of taking a pause and having a cup of tea for the council. Queen's Park is a wonderful community amenity and is enjoyed by thousands of people. The Southland Museum and Art Gallery in the Pyramid was a well-used building from its opening in 1990 until it was suddenly closed in April 2018 because the council was advised it was earthquake prone. Our community was shocked at losing this asset and this well-loved amenity. Over the years, many people visited the building seeking information, excitement and fellowship. The SMAG staff shared their knowledge with visitors, young and old. The cafe was a popular place and the shop provided good products, often Southland sourced. In 1988, 2.5 years before the Pyramid was opened, the New Zealand Prime Minister David Longley called for everybody to take a pause and have a cup of tea to slow down the Rogernomics bandwagon of rapid change. That's where the reference to cup of tea comes from. For those of you who are, well, I'm telling you because that's what happened way back then when some of you hadn't been born. Anyway, the Invercargill City Council is now pushing ahead with several projects. Today I ask you to take a pause and have that cup of tea. Then you should have a brief holiday, and in 2014 you can reconsider your priorities. If the council pauses and makes better decisions, we'll all benefit. The ICC's preferred option to demolish the Pyramid the ICC's preferred option is to demolish the Pyramid. My preferred option is to retain the building and transform it to become a community hub for many different user groups, which I addressed in my previous discussion on Chris's paper. A good part of the success of the Southland Museum and Art Gallery and the Eastern Southland Art Gallery and associated activities is the combined museum and artistic activities. For some reason, the recent ICC proposals have the museum and art facilities activities separated. So basically I'm arguing against that. My recommendation is to combine the museum and art gallery and to locate them in the inner city where more people can enjoy them and where they can enhance the inner city. The large H&J Smith sites are now vacant, and I recommend the Invercargill City Council buy them and consider the best long-term uses for the sites. Here are some suggestions for the H&J Smith sites. Build a staged Southland Museum and Art Gallery complex. The council has a combined budget of about $80 million for arts and creativity and SMAG. This budget could be used for buildings on these sites. Build some conference and meeting rooms and office spaces for the 3 local authorities. Develop a good public square for celebrations, for performances and for protests. Provide some parking for cars and bikes for staff and the community. Design buildings which could be staged and changed and expanded. Because about the only thing we can be sure about is things will change. Conclusions. At a recent council meeting about Wokina Place and S Street West, the council was advised, when they are recommending changes, to have an alternative to replace the things which are likely to be removed. Shifting the Southland Museum and Art Gallery from Queen's Park will upset some people. If the council promotes feasible options, the community is more likely to accept them. Moving on to my final paper that you've got, I think. Guidelines to assist clients complete successful projects. Plan to do things well and provide positive leadership and clear communications. Accept there will be changes and acknowledge mistakes and correct them. Consider the big picture, including the context and the longer term. Define the challenges problems. It is important to establish the needs and to define them clearly. Provide realistic cost budgets and reasonable timeframes. Involve people with good local knowledge and people with the appropriate skills for the project. Under-promise and over-deliver. Then the community will be happy. That's the end of my formal bit.
Thanks, Bob. What do you envisage the community hub you've suggested could be useful?
Well, there are lots of artists in mediocre accommodation in attics and around the town. And so I mentioned displays and workshops for them, but a community hub, it's very difficult to find meeting spaces. You get a meeting space in a library when you've got strange hours. We need more community building, more community spaces in my view. And on the first floor in that building, if you put some dormer windows up, so you can actually look out rather than be enclosed by the building, you've actually got good views and good light and good windows. And I think those activities could happen there.
And that's in a refurbished pyramid.
Yep.
And the activities, museum and art gallery activities, if I'm pricing, are kept together.
I believe that they're better off in town. And I've argued that argument before, often just for the art gallery. I mean, I've been involved with the SMAG for a long time, and there's been all sorts of endeavours to increase the size of it, as you know. And one of the things was to shift the art bit into town. Now we've actually got the first time we've actually had a decent sized budget, and I think we've got an amazing opportunity with the Smith site, and I think that now's a good time to take advantage of that.
What do you estimate the costs would be around dealing with the earthquake prone part of the Smith site?
I think the Smith site earthquake prone stuff will get solved by demolition. I'm not suggesting, I mean, I mentioned that Chris would like to reuse existing buildings. I'm not in that camp. I'm a new building person. I think the new building should be designed so it can be expanded. I mean, I mentioned staged. I mean, I think the size of the current proposed at 4,000 square metres is large, and there are numerous other problems, I think, with the design of the current proposal at Queen's Park. But, happy to mention those if you want. But
No, just processing what you've got in your submission. Thanks, Bob. Tom.
Bob, your submission refers to the fact that the pyramid was closed because of the earthquake risk. But I think you'll be aware that since then we become aware of the fact that it's also a fire risk, and that the issues around insurance are
Actually, the
difficult.
fire risk, correcting you, Tom, the fire risk was notified first. Earthquake prone risk came second.
Okay, whichever order. But Bob, I mean, the retention of the pyramid, you must be aware of that fire risk issue. What would be your response to that?
well, I know there are different opinions on that. As I understand it, the building is sprinklered. Is that true?
Say again?
Yes.
It's got sprinklers.
Yes.
It's sprinklered. So I don't think that's a serious issue. I think there's been a serious number of myths around about that building. I didn't say it was earthquake prone. I was very careful. I said the council got advice that it was. There's hours worth of discussions suggest that there's conflicting views about the wisdom of that. And so it was closed suddenly, with 4 days' notice, and still hasn't fallen down. And other museums around the place that had greater risks are still open, like Gore. So that's another whole sad story. But I think Darren asked for an estimate, and my question, so I could raise it. I'll sort of put it back here. Somewhere I did. 7, 8. I think you might find now that there's some. At that time, there'd been no serious, whatever they call that ground testing stuff is. Here it is.
Geotech.
Geotech. There'd be no serious geotech stuff. I supervised a modest thing on the side, and the assumptions that were made, I think, by engineers out of the United States who did the report, assumed it was worse than it actually is. And so I think you've probably now got different results, although those haven't been published. But I assume there's been some testing done, geotech. I assume they've done a while ago, but then I think I saw something recently where you're advertising to do something. So it's a bit confusing how things get done around here. But I think the building, well, the first part of the building was built in 1940 after things got to be sensible after the earthquakes in Napier, and the additions after that were sensible. The pyramid shape itself with a steel frame over the whole lot of that is remarkably stable structure, and you can't actually get something more stable than that. And the fact that it got a sticker on it as a higher zone thing is hard to justify. But anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ria.
Thank you, Bob, for your submission. I know that you are a very well experienced architect, and a lot of the history that you provided to this council has been pretty much pitch perfect. I want to ask one of the questions of you that you've asked of us. Can you accept there will be changes and acknowledge the mistakes that have been made, and that the council can correct them?
Say that again.
I want to ask you the question that you've asked of us.
Yes.
Can you accept there will be changes and acknowledge mistakes that the council have made, and that we can correct them?
Well, I'm asking you to do that. I mean, are you asking me to accept my mistakes?
Would you accept that? That question you're asking of us, I'm asking, would you accept that back if I asked you the same question?
Whether I've made mistakes?
No. What I'm saying is, the information that you provided, has been very substantial to the Pyramid Museum.
Yes.
That you've put a piece in here that it was closed suddenly because it was earthquake prone.
Well,
That-
it was claimed to be earthquake prone.
Correct, of your own submission. And you're asking the council, will we accept that there will be changes and acknowledge mistakes and correct them? And what I'm asking you is the same question. As a submitter and as a very well experienced architect in Invercargill, you've got the history, pitch perfect, of a lot of what the council does. And from your submission, I can see that you don't want change,
Oh,
or
what do
that
mean?
you consider that there is a better option out there for the pyramid, or a gallery, art gallery, or museum, that you're offering complete change for it to be put into the.
Sorry, councillor, you're
HMJ.
really getting off track.
Well, I guess he doesn't really even answer my question.
Well,
Sorry.
Mr Simpson asked the question of council anyway, so I think the question fairly exists. He's asked it of us.
I
I'd also
have
query the
twice-
use of the
twice
term pitch
promoted-
perfect.
Pardon? What'd you say?
I'm sorry, the comment was to the councillor.
What'd you say?
I said I queried her use of the term pitch perfect.
He knows the low value.
My previous endeavours to get the art gallery in town were just the art gallery, not the museum, because at that stage, those stages when I was promoting that, and that included buying 42 Tay Street, which I actually took an option on to shift the art gallery into town, was to take pressure off the museum building. But so I've changed, and at a later date, I had an interview and photographs taken to put the thing into the old farmers building. But my change is I now think that the art gallery and museum should remain combined, which, I mean, when I promoted those things in the past, Russell Beck used to give me a hard time because he believed that having them combined was important.
Thanks, Bob. So your answer to Ria's question then is clearly yes. You believe you can change because you've
I can
changed your
change,
position around the separation of art and museum.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mayor Clark.
Yeah, Bob, I'm sorry for being late. I had a urgent matter. 2 years ago, this council faced the issue of refurbishing the pyramid or looking at an alternative. And so they voted just about unanimously to look at the alternative. So the pyramid issue, in my view, is gone. A majority of our ratepayers have said they want any new museum to be located at Queen's Park. They don't want us to bring it into the inner city, so we're bound by that, I guess. And at the time, 2 years ago, we made a decision on council to separate art and history, which is the museum concept, away from each other, that art was better delivered in other areas of the city other than in a museum. And certainly my assessment of most large cities in New Zealand, and certainly those in Australia, is they have separate facilities both for art and for the museum. They don't mix the two. So the question I've got for you, I guess, is the submissions today about whether or not you believe that council should change the designation on the tennis courts area so that we can expand the proposed build of the new museum further to the west. And so I'd like your view on that, because I don't think, or certainly from my perspective, I'm not here to debate what we've historically agreed on and looking at other options, and we're too far down the track. And you'll know at the time I was opposed to the museum being closed, and I was also
So if we
opposed
can just stick to the question.
to the alternative. So I'm just laying out the land. That I just would like you to tell us what you think about the issue of the change of designation for that portion of the land so we can build on it, and whether you're opposed to that or not.
I am. I very clearly said that, and Chris says that, and we think it should remain recreational land so you can play tennis there or do other things on it.
Yep.
And you should convert the pyramid building or additions to the pyramid so that people who want to do recreation in Queen's Park can have showers, get changed, have lockers, and use it as recreation. I mean, it's actually unusual to have got permission to build the museum in the first place on that reserved land.
So
I think if I look through the papers that, your next 180 pages, quite a lot of that saying, I don't really want to sit through that. Is
Then
saying
don't.
Pardon?
Then don't.
So I've got a couple.
So the answer is, I think that land should stay for recreation, and we should recognise that changes to the pyramid can actually make the building much better for its relationship with the park and for outdoor recreation, which is the function of the current tennis court reserve land status, and I think it should remain for that reason.
Mayor Clark.
Just a couple of other quick questions. Do you know who the current users of the building on the tennis courts are?
I read that there's someone going to submit after this. So, yes, but so what?
Well, okay. I guess I've got a couple of follow-up questions to that. It's a cultural group that has said that they're prepared to move elsewhere because they see the benefit of the expanded museum. When was the last time you saw tennis played on the courts?
Oh, probably about a year ago.
Yeah, it's fair to say that it's very, very rare, isn't it?
Well, it's rare, but that's not to say it doesn't happen. And there was a time when people used to come to our house to get the keys to use the court. I'm sort of a long-term person who knows that, but there's no reason why we can't encourage people during their break times and when people have more flexible hours to play tennis at lunchtime. Yep. And to do other things where they get a sweat up and want to have a shower. And those things can happen on or adjacent to the current pyramid. Sure. And then it's a sensible recreation facility.
Just one.
You've gone to quite a lot of trouble to improve the things in town, and the things that have changed dramatically, and I mean, I started making a list, it's just too great. But in the last 10 years, the changes include the council selling the land for Kmart, the development of the inner city block deal, which could do with more patronage by visitors who visit museums and art galleries. And the same with the people in lunchtime who work in the inner city. We actually need to improve the density of activity in the inner city. And this is an opportunity, if you take a bit of a break and recognise that your discussions 2 years ago didn't get much serious input and impact, because, I mean, I didn't even notice it was going on. I mean, I was trying to hibernate, I have to say, but you've managed to shake me out of my retirement from making public comment. You helped with that with your attitude to something else.
Sorry, Mayor Clark, you have one last question?
Just as a statement for Bob's thing and a question to run into with it. I think 2021 from recollection, I'll be corrected if it's 22, I think it's 2021, we did a survey with our community, and it involved about 1,000 people. So some were by email, some were by cold calling people, quite an extensive community interface. I think something like about 90% of the people that we engaged with said they didn't want a museum sitting right in the middle of the city for engagement of people that worked in the city. They said they wanted the museum to be retained at Queen's Park as part of an experience of going to Queen's Park as well. So we'd be remiss not to do things. One last issue I have is that did you make a submission 2 years ago when we were considering the new museum at the park?
No. But thank you. You did say at a meeting that I was at here relatively recently,
yep,
that the people that make a noise are the people who are upset and aren't necessarily the majority at all. And you were saying that with regard to Wapner Place.
Well, I think that's another argument.
Except it's another argument, but I mean,
I mean, to your credit, I mean, we've got four submitters, I think, or 5 submitters today on this piece of land. If I use the argument that you just thrown back to me, I'd ignore the lot of them, wouldn't I?
You what?
So we're getting into
I would
debate
ignore
now.
The lot of them, wouldn't I?
Have we got any more questions?
I don't think you had an option.
Any other questions, Mayor Clark?
No, thank you.
Councillor Crackett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Mayor actually took the words out of my mouth, so thank you for that, Robbie.
Yep.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, just to proceed again, the basis of the submission, Bob, is that you are against the reclassification because you believe the current site by the museum could be reused as a community hub, and that the museum and art gallery functions, which should be kept together, should be within the CBD and therefore not require the reclassification of land.
Correct. And that the current pyramid building with some alterations and additions and a better roof, has the potential for a major improvement for many people that use and could use Queen's Park.
Thank you. No further questions? Thanks again, Bob. Appreciate you coming in. Pat, welcome along. Come up, take a seat. Share with us who your friend is.
Yes. Amanda Patterson, we're both members of Heritage Roses.
Thank you. Welcome, Amanda.
Right, shall I just start?
Please do.
Okay. I've been a member of Heritage Roses Southland for about 30 years, and I'm making this submission on behalf of our club. During that time, I've often looked at the Jessie Calder Rose Garden for information about a particular rose, or even just to admire the many roses that won't fit into my garden. Many people do the same thing. We value the collection and see it as a source of inspiration for our own gardens and something the public can enjoy at no cost to them. You have information flyer in front of you that has been available from Parks and Reserves for several years. Looks like that. This is an excellent thing and provides all the background information on how the garden and surrounds came about. The garden was officially opened in December 1989 by the Honourable Helen Clark, who was Deputy Prime Minister at that time. The Jessie Calder Garden has several rare roses that are no longer available in commerce and are possibly the only specimens in New Zealand on public display. For this reason alone, they need to be protected and cared for. In recent years, the garden has suffered a bit for various reasons and is not currently as lush as it was 10 or 12 years ago. Probably the most significant reason for the decline is lack of water. Roses need regular deep watering to maintain their health and good appearance. We believe construction of the museum and landscaping of the surrounds is an ideal opportunity to get irrigation into the garden. In recent times, several roses have died and there are gaps in some beds. Staff do the best they can, but without adequate water available, it is impossible to overcome the problem of dry summers. We also ask that the brick wall on the south side of the garden be retained. The garden is of English design, and a wall along with which climbing roses grow is often a feature of that style. The wall provides shelter and reflective warmth for the plantings. Public gardens are the best place for many roses because that is where everyone, locals as well as visitors, can come and see them. I've no doubt that some of you have never been to the Jessie Calder Garden. I urge you to take your lunchtime sandwich and go and sit in the garden. There are seats, and take in your surrounds. It's very calming.
Thanks, Pat. So, bearing in mind that the hydration of the roses isn't really part of what we're considering, I can assure you that our senior park staff are here and have heard what you said. Can I just confirm, what is the position then of Heritage Roses Southland on the reclassification? Are you supportive of it, provided there is no disruption to the Jessie Calder Garden,
Correct.
the roses and the walls?
Yes, yes.
Thank
No
you.
problem with the reclassification. It's just that this is the opportunity when building is there and undergoing, there'll be landscaping, no doubt about. That's the opportunity to get irrigation into the garden.
Good point, thank you. Councillors, any questions? Evelyn.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I know it's also not to do with the reserve status, which is really what the hearing's about, but you have mentioned the brick wall. So have you any feelings about more transition from the museum to the gardens through that brick wall, because that's part of the reason for extending the site as well.
When I looked at the diagram, it doesn't have any kind, I mean, the brick wall is there in that diagram there.
Yeah.
Brick wall is there. Yes, I know that it's like from the museum side, it will look out onto the back of the brick wall. Maybe an archway on either end, at either end, would be an access into the garden, but not get rid of the brick wall altogether.
No,
That
I
might
think
be a compromise.
thank you, because I take your point. I love growing roses. I'm not very good at it, but I do understand about the importance of the wall. But I do also know that there has been conversation, and that's part of the reason for extending the site, is to make the transition from one place to the other. So
I
thank you for
have
your
heard, I
clarification.
haven't seen any plans, but we sort of have heard that. But maybe a compromise, you know, a couple of archways. Like this is the wall, archway there and there.
Thank you for your clarification. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
I too suck at growing roses, but I love enjoying the work of other people. Rhea.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to let you know that I spent 6 weeks at Invercargill Garden at high school weeding it. Part of the horticulture course in the whole of Queen's Park.
Sure, it wasn't detention.
Probably 2
Probably.
But I'm interested to hear that you wouldn't, if I heard you right, you wouldn't be opposed to some sections of that wall being taken away to let a thorough through happen. And you've mentioned too, like about the special roses that are not known or grown anywhere else in the world.
Not the world.
Sorry,
New Zealand.
New Zealand. I thought we were more special. But if they were in areas, you know, are they in areas along that brick wall? For concern? No.
No.
So if we had to establish some of those roses in order to protect them, say worst case scenario with the wall, how well would those roses be able to bounce back with proper nourishment and repopulation?
None of the roses I'm referring to are along the brick wall. None of them.
Right, yeah.
They're small bush roses, and the brick wall is climbers.
Right.
And some perennials, isn't it?
Yes.
Carolyn knows. Yeah, but there's a couple of roses on that brick wall that I've referred to in the submission, and they're absolutely magnificent. They really, really are. And it would be a shame to affect them, but nevertheless, they're not rare. And they could be re-established, you know, that kind of thing. But it's just that when they're out, they're absolutely fabulous.
They are.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Alex,
Oh, that's okay.
other questions? If there are none, thank you for taking the time to lodge your submission and for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
They are beautiful roses, and I have been there.
Yeah. Do go and have a sit down. Yeah, this is a good time of the year for it. Thanks.
Councillors, I'm just going to adjourn briefly and pause because we're still waiting for a submitter to appear on Zoom, and there are a few people who've come along in support of that submission as well. Oh, well, no, they're just joining now. Look at that.
On now, magic.
So we're just loading the presentation. Jay, are your group speaking to this submission as well? Do you want to come up and take a seat? So Felice, is it?
Yes, that's me.
And Ginny? And Jay? And on Zoom? Vasileva, welcome along. Who's leading? Oh, we're still leading the presentation, or is it up? Excellent. Who's leading it?
Leslie.
Please, the time is yours.
Hello,
Welcome.
everybody, and thank you for willing to see us today. My name is Felices, Chai and Shanine and Vasileva. We are representing. We are here on behalf of Kalapu mai lewa, Māroe Lelei. Kalapu mai lewa, the name is come from the Bible, Matthew 5 verse 41. This means mai lewa go extra mile to help someone. And that's what our group's all about, is helping other people. And our group, Vasileva is the president of the group. And this group here, we at Christmas time, we go and play music for at the rest home for old people. We do try to help out the community. So today, Vasileva is going to try to explain why we're here today. But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vasileva, the time is yours.
Yeah, we do have a presentation with some
Thank you
slides on it.
Yep.
now for the time, and
Yeah, we may-
won't
may
be
go
long. I'm in Auckland. Someone in the oldest passed away, and I'm sorry for that. And yeah, is what Felicia says. That's our main thing. Is it go for extra mile. Not only the Tongan, but the wider community, the Samoa and Maori as well join us. But what I'm coming from is because of the museum project is, so you have to we basing now from 110 Victoria Avenue is the tennis court pavilion, but we understand that the tennis court is going to be go away soon or later. We definitely support the museum, because the museum is a wider community. What I'm coming from is to find some place for us to move before we because the council is telling us to find somewhere to go. I think that one is not on. We have to work together to find a place for us. I know, but maybe Jay and Felicia add something up. That's the reason of we want you fellas to hear. They say that find a place so we can move to continue on what we're doing. At the sport, the community, and some of the workers from overseas, from Tonga, is with us. But we find a place. We call this place is Maileua Hub, a Maileua Community Tongan Hub. It's a place for us to go and spend the time and doing what we're doing now. And if Felicia or Jay adds something, so thank you for the opportunity. That's our really a reason of we want you fellas to hear what we want.
Thank you. Jay, do you want to take us through the PowerPoint? So we've had a
Yeah,
chance
sure.
to have a
First
look.
slide again, please, and can you go to the
Yep.
next one? Yeah, so I was involved with the Maileua group in probably mid-2021, and at the time they answered the call to be part of a cultural games group where they showcase their traditional games and some of their culture at the Southern Badminton Hall. And so we sort of built up a bit of a relationship, and they asked about, is there some spaces in the community where they could meet, because they were just currently meeting in a garage in Glengarry. And so they were singing their songs and practicing their kava culture in the middle of the night, but sort of being a bit noisy in the region, in the area. So we're looking to find a space, and we were fortunate enough to find a space at the Queen's Park Tennis Club. It just been done up, and we got that opportunity. I mean, we were well aware that it was at the most a 3-year sort of lease to use that space, as the construction of the museum was inevitable, and so this opportunity we took and got some community wellbeing funding to pay for the lease, and the Kalapu Mailewa group, they moved in. And from here, they've been able to attract a lot more of the Tongan community right across Southland and across Aotearoa. They've been able to form a pickleball club. If no one's familiar with pickleball, it's a mixture of table tennis and tennis, but a lot more friendlier for the not as fast moving individual. And there's no other pickleball club in Invercargill other than one in Gore, so it's quite unique for the town. They also set up their own community hub, community tennis club as well. So they're playing a lot of tennis and pickleball, and then they're also using the space just for coming together, celebrating, and just a hub for their youth to come when they were working. They'll be able to come in afterwards, meet, share stories, just do all the things that young people do. And so I guess, yeah, we've been in the process of looking for another space, but yeah, we're just sort of looking to hopefully remain here at the tennis court until that opportunity arises. Yeah, so we're sort of seeking the support from the council to let us stay in that space until until we do find another space, which we are and have been looking for the last 3 or 4 months.
Thanks, Jay. How often is the space used by the group?
From my experiences, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of I'll go in there once or twice a month and visit the group, and a lot of their night shift workers will turn up 10, 12 o'clock at night, and they'll be there till 4 or 5 in the morning, just catching up, drinking kava and singing songs. Yeah, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, that photo is over there. Most of the men in the photo is people from Tonga. They over here for the meat work. So the little hub is mean a lot for them, for us to make sure they have a place to go to on the weekend. And it's not only Tongan over there. There's a few Māori over there as well. So yeah. And also at Mailewa we have a rugby club, and we support some of our boys. They play for the Stag. We support it. They come to Mailewa if they have a problem, and some of the young boys, they are high performing.
High performance
over there as well. So yeah, we support all our boys, our young boys at Mailewa as well.
What's the value of the lease? Do you know?
I think it's just over $1,000 a year.
$3,000.
$3,000. So that's across the 3 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think the Wellbeing Community Fund is been fund for 3 years. It's $3,000 per year, but I think they fund 9,000 something.
Oh, so 3,000 a year.
Yeah, 3,000 a year.
Right. Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Trish,
Thank you for your presentation. It's interesting.
can you pull that microphone around, Trish?
Beg your pardon. I didn't even know you existed, so that's something I learned today. Do you only use it in the latter part of the night, the hub? I'm just thinking, is there any way you could possibly arrange to share with someone who doesn't, some group that doesn't use it at that time of the night? Do you use it during the day?
Yes, so a lot of the time, the tennis courts, the table tennis sets are used during the day for the people that don't work during or
Shift.
do night shifts
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's getting used a lot, not just at night time. But
Right.
It's in the weekends. It's 100% attendance rate in the weekends over that night time.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Evelyn?
Malori Lele. I suppose I'm curious from you as to whether, and you've indicated that you understand that you do need to move and that you're looking for somewhere. Is the reason that it suits you so well because it's comparatively isolated for your late night noise, and so therefore that's one of the attractions of it, and you would need somewhere similar once you move. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, your instincts are right. Yeah, I believe it's probably good for the neighbours.
I was trying to find a tactful way to say it. But you've also indicated that you understand that for community's benefit that you will be moving. Your lease was only 3 years anyway, so you're just wanting to ensure that you're there till the end of your lease.
Well, that would be definitely an extra bonus, but I think just currently at the moment in this immediate time, until we find another space, and I'm sure that won't be too long away, but sort of over that Christmas period, and it's sort of going to just provide a bit of, or it's going to take away a space in quite a celebratory time of the year.
So the answer, Fire, is there until a suitable alternative venue is found.
Sounds that way. I don't think we were evicting you before Christmas. It's not a good look. No, I appreciate the fact that you have indicated that you recognise that you're not there for the long term and that you do need to find something else. So, thank you, Malo.
Mayor Clark?
Yeah, mine's a sort of question as well, I guess, or reflection, which is the where to from here. Thinking outside the square and hoping that Caroline's not going to have a meltdown in the background over there. We've got another building in Queen's Park that is used by the Blind Association or whatever. It's reasonably isolated and I suspect not all that often used. So maybe that's an area of approach that you might be able to look to. Another option would be Rugby Park, and Peter's going to kill me sitting beside me. But again, council has said in relation to Rugby Park, it needs to be a multiple tenant facility. It can't be exclusively just for rugby. So with that, it gives you some options as well. Probably not too much opposition from the neighbours in either of those two locations. So just something to be thinking about.
Excellent question.
Well,
I understand the purpose of the comment. But that comes down to, I think what the submitter is saying is they're open to all options, but they need something that was really available night and day, particularly across Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and potentially not in a residential zone. Other questions? If there are none, Vice Lever and Felice, Janine and Jay, thank you very much for making your submission and for coming along this afternoon and speaking with us. We appreciate that.
Kia ora.
Yeah,
Thank you for your submission and support. It's prototype in my grandson.
So as a matter of process for the hearing, councillors, the recommendations are: 1, that we receive the report, Queen's Park Reclassification hearing. 2, we accept the written submissions received between September 30 and 3 November. 3, we accept the late submission from Te Ao Marama as a letter of support. 4, we note the summary of submissions and also the hearing schedule. As I said, determination will be made at the following meeting. So we'd like to move those recommendations. Moved by Trish and Rhea. It's open for discussion. There is none. I'll put the motion. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Councillors, that brings us to the end of the hearing, so I'll formally close it and just note that the decisions will be made in the next meeting, that the recommendations that sit within the staff report are merely there as thought starters. You will be making your own determination. I note that Councillors Dermody and Pottinger have arrived. I'm sorry, but you'll be excluded from the discussion, the decision around, because you needed to be here throughout that part of the hearing. All other parts of the meeting, good to go. And with